Hey guys, it's Juwan, the Gay Guru. I just wanted to take time to talk about self-preservation or self-love or love of oneself. There's many different terms for it. I was laughing because I was talking to myself and I was thinking, there's words for a meaning and there's meaning for words. Just as there's different meanings for different words and there's different words for different meanings. And what I wanted to make that applicable to was self-love is the same thing. When you have to think of yourself as a word sometimes. And though you're born not knowing who you are, not knowing what you've been given, you're just a word for a while. You're that person, that culture, that religion, that background. And then after a while, you kind of grow up and you start learning that there's other words around you. So those words represent different things. Now, sometimes we don't always want to dig and know the history of those words. We just stick to what the word is and just use it. But then we always find out, hey, there's a dictionary. This is the source. There's meaning behind that, and there's also a differentiation of how to use that meaning. I have to be able to step outside of myself and see that perspective. So that's when self-love starts to connect itself, because you start seeing yourself in other people. You start seeing representations of an emotion that you remember when you were younger, or recently something happened and you just remember, like, oh, I see where they're coming from, I understand. That's when perspective is important, because perception is always going to be that of judgment. But we do that because we're trying to apply a word to a situation. And when we do that, we forget that that situation has emotions behind it. And behind those emotions are people. So how someone deals with the situation is how much self-love they have for themselves. Because if you know that getting all riled up over something that really is not going to affect your daily life in the least, you just don't like the way it sounds, or you don't like the way it was presented, but then you decide to give back that same transfer of negative energy that someone gave you and give it back, now you're exhausting the energy that God meant for you to have for yourself to make your daily function purposeful. So think of it like a cell. The nucleus itself is the sun, okay? How the sun gives us life. Think about if the sun was all off balance and it wasn't the sun bright and shiny and worrying about itself. It would go away, the world would probably freeze, and we would die off. So the sun has to always be that shining beacon of light. It always has to be the lighthouse. And everything else that gravitate towards us are the ships that are lost, that need to stay warm and have shelter and understand that we need to thrive from this energy. So take that back to the nucleus. Each cell does the same thing. It has counterparts that help it stay stable. So in that moment, yes, some things have to collide to make a new evolution of something. We're at that point now where that cell becomes that tissue, and that tissue becomes that organ, and so on and so forth, to a system. Apply that to your emotions and apply that to evolution. If you really sit back and think about it, when we learn an emotion, we feel it first. And then people put words on it and say, this is how you should feel, this is how you should think. But we still know how it feels. And when we feel that, we take it back to either a moment in time where it was taught to us negatively, or a moment in time where it was taught to us positively. I messed that up a little bit, but you know what I meant to say. It's always a counter reaction to both. So if you want to stay in a negative state, you will stay there, and that's the energy that you will give yourself, and that self-hate and that self-loathing and putting yourself down. That's where all that comes from, because you're not trying to understand the meaning of your emotions and your thoughts, which makes your purpose more purposeful. So you always want to try to balance it out with, you know what? If it ain't for me, it ain't for me. If I ain't rocking with you, I ain't rocking with you. If I don't like it, I don't like it. I don't have to dislike you as a person. I just don't like the representation, or I don't like the situation, or I don't like the underlying meaning. Whatever it might be, you know what is best for you. So I always try to come back to center and just say, you know what? I'm just doing it for me. Bezos.